miracles happen all the time on your mission, but sometimes they don't always happen the way you expect them to happen or the way you want them to happen. But I remember one time, my companion and I were new to the area. I'd been there like a transfer before she had, and we didn't have that many investigators, so we did the best thing we could, which was tracting. So we went, drove 30 minutes away from our apartment to a place that hadn't been tracked. It was brand new to us, and the sisters that had been there before, I didn't have any records on it, so it was brand new as far as we could tell. So it was snowing that day, and we tracted, I think it was a Friday, we tracted there for 4 hours, got nothing. And the next day we tracted there for 6 hours, still got nothing. We met a bunch of random, crazy children of God, but no one was interested. No one was like giving us their information or like, hey, you can come back. But I do remember one house in specific that we went to, and there was like cat feces and plates and food like surrounding the house. But we were gonna knock on it anyways, and we were going off the 20 seconds of courage from Bublada Zoo, because the elders that were just brand new had brought that to our district meeting, and not the movie, but just the 20 seconds of courage, the motto, like, everyone just have 20 seconds of courage. If you can last 20 seconds, you can do anything. So we're like, okay, 20 seconds at this door, because it smelled rancid. We wanted to puke. So we get up to the door, we knock, we wait 20 seconds, and as soon as 20 seconds are out, we run away from the house, because it was rancid smelling. And as we're running away, we ran into this guy in his Labrador Retriever, who actually lived at the house. So we tried to talk to him for as long as we could, as long as our nose would let us, but he didn't smell too good either. So we were talking to him, and he was the only person that didn't specifically say no, that the missionaries couldn't come back. But he didn't say yes. So we wrote down his information anyways that we could capture, because missionaries we're pretty creepy. We're stalkers. You write down people's information or house number and stuff, even if they don't tell you to let missionaries come back, you do it anyways, because the Spirit tells you to. So we wrote down his house information as he's walking away, and as we're walking away and trying to do it as stealthily as possible. We pass it on to the English-speaking missionaries. And then about 6 months later, I get a letter from the companion that she had stayed in the area and I had left. And she was like, do you remember that smelly house we went to with the guy on the outside? And I was just like, yeah, so what? And she's like, he and his wife just got baptized yesterday. And I was like, are you kidding me? Because it was so great. 6 months later, we probably spent 8 hours tracking in the snow that weekend, got nothing. We hadn't seen any fruits of our labor, but this man and his wife's lives were changed. And they wrote us a letter, because we had initially found them, but they were taught by other missionaries. So he wrote us a letter, and she sent me a photocopy of that letter. And reading that letter just really changed my whole mindset of miracles. That they're real, and they come, but they never come when you expect them to. And they don't come in the way you want them to, but they're there and they're real. And it just showed you how much God's in charge of this. So many miracles happened like that. One time, so missionaries fall asleep when they're praying a lot because you're really tired. And so I fell asleep while I was praying during my personal study, and my companion woke me up, and she was like, so what'd you pray sleep about? And I was like, we're going to find a family of 3 today. Came out of nowhere. And she's like, okay, we'll find a family of 3 today. And so we went to our first appointment with the member, and she said the closing prayer. And in her prayer, she specifically said that we were going to find a really cool man that day. And we were like, well, I hope he's part of the family of 3 that we're going to find. So we continue on with our day. We get to this apartment complex. We're meeting with this really sweet lady that has gone through a whole lot of things. And it was a miracle that we ended up at our apartment, because our first 2 lessons fell through. And so we were just like, let's go see her. We haven't seen her in a while. So we went and talked to her. We talked with her, and then right when we were leaving, she was like, would you sisters mind taking out our trash? And we're like, no, we wouldn't mind at all. We would love to. So we take out our trash. As we're walking to the dumpsters that we couldn't even find, it took us forever to find them, this man pulls up in his car, and he's like, excuse me. And we're like, yeah, what can we do for you? And he's like, I really just wanted to know what happened to that building behind us, because it had burned down a month ago. And we're like, well, it burned down a month ago. He's like, oh, okay. Well, I really didn't want to ask you about the building. I wanted to ask you about your church. And we're like, you could have started with that. He's like, I see you guys all the time, and I want to know, what's the difference between the Mormons and the Catholics? And since he was in his car and we had an appointment to get to, we were like, okay, well, we can come by your house and, talk to you more. So we set up an appointment, and before he drives away, I was like, wait. do you have a family? Like, do you have a wife and kids? And he's like, yeah, I have a wife. And I was like, how many kids do you have? And then in straight English, because we were speaking Spanish at the time, he looks at me, he's just like, one. I was like, that makes three. And it was so cool. Like, everything came together. It was so specific, but it was another one of those one-hit wonders where you find the guy, they're super excited, you're super excited, and then you can never find them again. But I think the one-hit wonders were probably one of my favorite things, just because it showed you how much God's hand is in the work, but then how much we have our agency to choose to keep going. As he would lead us to these people, we'd find them, we'd have great first lessons with them, and then you could never find them again. But it happens all the time, and you just have to keep building your faith and keep going with it. Because it's so easy to say, well, they're just going to be another one-hit wonder. They're not going to want anything after this. Why keep talking to them? But you just do your part. You just talk to them. You just keep going out and finding miracles. And miracles are everywhere as long as you're willing to see them. Because the one trainee I had, she was always upset about not having enough miracles. And I just kept telling her, you're not seeing the miracles. They're here. Your eyes are just not opened. And so now when I get her emails, they're chock full of miracles. She's like, and then this miracle happened, and then this miracle happened. And it just makes me so happy to see, how her vision has changed. Not necessarily the circumstances, but how her attitude has changed about seeing miracles. Because they're out there all the time. And God's just waiting for us to see them.